Thanks for joining me, Heather.
Oh, sure. Thanks for talking to me.
A lot of questions for you. First of all, how's the training been going? I know the last time you were supposed to be fighting, obviously it didn't come through, but how was it for you to go through the training experience that first time for MMA, and how's that helped you this time around?
Oh my gosh, this time around I'm certainly prepared for it. That first fight camp, you think like a ton of bricks, man. I used to ride the trains home from like the third gym, the third borough I was in for the day, dragging my kid, doing our homework on the train, just crying, being so tired, but I certainly managed my time better, prepared better for this camp.
With your ground game, I believe you were training at Henzo's. What were you doing this time around? Was it the same situation?
Same situation, only this time I was working with Daniel. I've been working with Daniel Gracie, and he's teaching me all sorts of mean stuff.
Yeah, I mean, how's that been for you to have that transition between boxing and getting the ground game interlaced into your striking?
Oh, sure. I mean, it was tough in the beginning, like anything else, but I'm fortunate that I'm such a kind of a veteran in fight sports that I know about fighting. I understand fighting. I understand the mechanics and the scientific things that happens when you punch, when you step, when you move laterally. So, after a while, things started to click in, and I was able to apply my knowledge of boxing onto the other martial arts.
Now, you went from a boxing fight camp over to an MMA fight camp. I mean, obviously there are differences between the two. How's it been for you to make that transition, even just between what you're focusing on boxing versus focusing on an MMA camp? Has that been easy for you? Have there been any difficulties?
Well, it's just time consuming. It's a lot of stress on your body, so I really focus on eating better and. Your body is a machine. If you want to use it, you got to take care of it. So I have really cleaned up everything so that my body can perform more. Because it's a lot more training sessions a day. I didn't alter my boxing training. My boxing training remained exactly the same. Just added the other stuff.
Has Daniel and Henzo and them, have they taken that and kind of molded it more into an MMA style, or is it? Has your boxing been separate from that training, or is there anybody that's actually helping you make the actual combination of between your striking and your ground game?
Well, my boxing coach Devon, who's been with me since my very first amateur fight, has remained my boxing coach, and he was a 3-time world champion kickboxer. So we've always kickboxed together. So I think I've been still staying at Gleason's for my striking. When I go to Daniel's Fight Academy, I work with Nick, who's the MMA boxing coach, who kind of shows me some techniques that work better against kicks and against takedowns. And, Daniel's working with my style. I think any good coach does that. They don't try to change you or teach you new things, but rather see what you're good at and figure out how can we use this to our advantage.
Yeah, I know Holly Holmes started out with kickboxing and then went over to mixed martial arts, and very similar story to yours. How's it been to integrate more kickboxing now versus just the regular boxing?
I always kickbox with Devon. He's into kicks, and I use it for cross training and just to have fun. And I teach kickboxing at Gleason, so it really wasn't a big transition for me at all. I love to kick.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if that ends up happening during your fight coming up. What's it mean for you to do MMA in New York? I know you box a lot in New York. You have really good crowds when you go out and box in New York. How's it for you to have your MMA debut now in New York?
Well, I think that any fighter wants to perform in front of their hometown, and everybody knows I put on from my city, 20-0 as a boxer right here in Brooklyn, and I'm so excited to fight at the Garden. I mean, it's the fight capital of the world. It always has been, so to be able to fight under the same lights that Muhammad Ali did, and under the same lights that Billy Joe plays his piano, I mean, as a New Yorker, I can't think of a better opportunity than this.
Now, the boxing world has been popping a little bit in terms of the women. We're seeing a lot more gals get opportunities to be on television. What do you attribute that to? And how do you see the future of women's boxing? Do you think that we're kind of starting to get into a golden era now with the women's boxing?
Well, let's not. It's certainly better than it ever was. It's better than it has been, but it's nowhere near where it should be. And you see the few women that are on TV. You're still neglecting tons of talent. Some epic fights are happening that nobody knows about because women are being ignored in most circles. So, am I happy with what's happening? Oh my gosh, I'm so happy, but the pay scale is still so incredibly different, even for us women who are televised, and the opportunities aren't there. Alicia Ashley is in the Guinness Book of World Records for being the oldest world champion ever, older than Bernard Hopkins was. She's still fighting for a world title, and nobody knows who she is. Maybe one of the best boxers I've ever seen.
Yeah, I know of her, and she's a really great boxer. It's a really great video online if you guys look it up. The world's oldest is what it's called, and she's featured on there. It's kind of a funny little parody, but people need to go and watch it. I saw it. A good friend of mine helped co-produce that, Melissa Smith. I'm pretty sure you're familiar with her. So yeah, I think.
I love Melissa. I see Melissa every day.
Yeah. Melissa Hood. I have yet to meet her in person, but she was kind enough to put me in her thank yous in her book. So yeah, she's co-hosted a couple times with me just to get whenever I interview boxers. So Melissa is just a sweet girl and really knows how to break it down a little bit. Now, you're coming in from a boxing world, coming into the MMA world. Are you hoping that being a boxer, that you can probably drive some boxing fans into the sport of MMA? I know there's always been a kind of little rivalry between MMA and boxing, and some of the boxing purists don't really like it. But and I think Lou had said at one point that there was some, he didn't really like it either. Are you hoping to bridge that gap between some of these boxing fans over to MMA?
Yes, and I'd also like to bring some of the MMA fans back to boxing. One of the arguments that boxers always have against MMA is they say it's so, it's not pretty, it's not technical, and I always have to explain to them, listen, for every person that's ever said boxing is such a brutal sport, and us boxers argue back, you don't understand it, because a boxing match can be like watching two people dance when you have two boxers who know what they're doing. It can be beautiful, and the same argument can go for jiu-jitsu and MMA and grappling. It might seem so brutal, but there are technical things happening when two fighters are on the ground rolling around that, the untrained eye doesn't see. So you just have to learn to appreciate it.
You're obviously going to be doing both from now on. There's no real focus in terms of which art you're going into, boxing and MMA. What's it like to have that little freedom? Because I know, I know that some of these other promotions have that opportunity for you to do both. What's it been like for you to have this opportunity to be able to fight more often, and also to fight MMA and boxing?
Well, it's a great opportunity, but for me, I love to fight so much. I'm always ready to fight. I get out of the ring when I'm boxing, and I'm always looking for when can I do it again. Not just for the money, but because I love it so much. So, it's like a dream come true for me to be able to be active in both sports, constantly looking forward to something, building up my profile on both channels. So I'm super psyched.
Would kickboxing be something you might be interested in?
With kickboxing?
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, if Bellator offers me a thumb wrestling contest, I'll take it. I love to fight whenever they want.
Yeah, your deal with Bellator now, is that a multi-fight deal, or is it just a one-off here so far?
Well, right now it's just a one fight, but it's only because it's tricky because it's co-promotional because I'm still signed to my boxing contract. So it's not a one fight because I'm going anywhere. it's just a one fight because Lou and Bellator still had some legal stuff to work out. So.
Yeah, and it's great to be excited to have that opportunity as well. I know Beck said Bellator has a kickboxing organization, so it might be interesting to see you make the dive over there maybe eventually. So it'll be interesting to see that as well. To be televised now, obviously with Carrie Ann Melendez's fight being scrapped, they put you up to the televised card. What does that mean to you as well to get a little bit more exposure?
Oh my gosh, it's so exciting! I've been fighting for a TV spot my whole boxing career, so to get it on my MMA debut, it's like, I hate to say the term, it's like a dream come true, but it really is. It's like, wow, all the things are happening. I feel like it's Heather Hardy's time, it's heat time.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the sponsorships. Obviously, you had sponsors as boxers, and being on television, it means that there's maybe more opportunity for you to get sponsors. How's the sponsorships been going in terms of this fight?
Well, I am sponsored by Diamondized Protein, and they've stuck with me through my whole boxing career, and even pretty much helped nail down this fight for me. But it's hard for me to get sponsorships because this is my first MMA fight. I have to prove myself all over again before I can think about anybody wanting to sign me. So hopefully after this fight, I'll have more sponsors looking for me to represent them.
Who will be in your corner for the fight?
It will be Daniel Gracie, my coach, my striking coach, Devon Cormack, and Jamal Patterson.
And tell me a little bit about have they been researching your opponent? Have you seen some footage about your opponent? What's been going on in terms of your game plan?
Well, the guys looked at the footage. In 20 boxing matches, I never really watched any tape. I don't got to worry about her. I got to worry about me. Let my coaches figure out how they want to train me for the fight, and that's kind of where my head stays. I make sure I just do what they ask me to do.
Now and after this one, you said you love to fight. Do you think you want to go back to boxing after this? Do you want to do another MMA fight, or are you going to play it by ear?
Well, we're going to see what makes sense. We're going to see what makes sense. I think that's the game plan for everybody. Where is Heather Hardy best at fighting? And that's what we're going to stick with moving forward.
Has the situation in New York changed a little bit since, you were saying last year that there were some, when they updated the new rules when they got MMA in, that your boxing portion was affected. Has that changed for you? Is it a better?
Yeah. They changed the rules so that they amended the insurance restrictions. So there's been boxing. We've been boxing. I've had a few boxing matches since January, so it's gotten much better.
Well, I mean, that's good to hear, and it's great to be able to hear that you like to be active as well. I know quite a few fighters that are the same way, where if they don't have an MMA fight, they'll take a boxing fight. They'll go into grappling and all that as well. Do you think you want to do more grappling just outside the cage, just to test your skills that way?
Well, what do you mean, like compete?
Well, compete in tournaments or whatever. A lot of fighters just compete in just weekend tournaments.
Well, see, if my coach wants me to do it, I will. But at this point in my life, I'm 35 years old. Let's just use the body for what we need to.
Okay.
I ain't looking to go out and have fun and start competing and stuff. People ask me when I was boxing, "Are you going to start MMA? Are you going to do MMA?" And I was like, I don't know. Now I'm doing MMA, and everyone's saying, "Are you going to kick boxing?" And next, I don't know what's next.
Yeah,
Don't dare me to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, Andrea Lee is like that. She'll do an MMA fight, and then if she's not available, there's no MMA fight, then she'll do a kickboxing fight, or she'll do a grappling expedition or whatever. So it's kind of interesting to say the least. Thinking about your title right now, is there anybody in particular you want to fight, or are you just kind of worried about this next fight?
I'm worried about this next fight. I never look ahead, and I also never make it a habit to call anyone out and say what I want. I know, in MMA, that would be disrespectful of me to talk to any of the champions before I've ever gotten in the cage. So let's see what happens this first fight, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm interested to see how your striking goes, and now that people can expect maybe some stand-up striking and kickboxing from you too. So it'll be interesting to say the least. One last question. Obviously, you've been fighting in New York for quite a while. Is there any inclination you want to fight outside the state? Maybe a fight in Vegas or something.
Oh my gosh, I would love to. I'd love to fight. I mean, every fighter wants to put on for their city, but at the same time, I want to make new fans. I want to go places. I want to travel. That's one thing I always was so envious of. Some of the other girls, they get to go all over the world, and I don't. So I'd love to travel and perform in front of some new fans.
Yeah, quite obviously, the weight cut's is probably going well right now, and to be able to be home doing that, is something that's kind of an advantage, I'm assuming. But any pressure coming into the fight because you're actually fighting in front of your hometown crowd, or is that something that you've kind of conquered over the years, having fought boxing so much in New York?
Well, probably my last 10 fights come pretty pressure for every single one. Nobody is more hard on me than I am, so I fight every fight like it's a must-win. So I don't care if I'm boxing in front of 1 million people or in front of just 2 people. My coaches in the corner, those are the guys who count, that I want to really impress and make them proud. So it doesn't matter. We going in to win.
Is this the first time you're boxing in Madison Square Garden?
Yeah, well, I boxed. I won my Golden Gloves in theater, but it'll be my first pro fight there. Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. And one last question. What theme music are you coming out to? Have you decided yet?
Oh my gosh! All 20 of my fights, I walk out to "Girl on Fire." That's the Heather Hardy song, "Girl on Fire."
Well, like I said again, I look forward to. Yeah, I look forward to listening to that live and seeing your entrance into Madison Square Garden on Spike. So, at Heather Hardy Box on Twitter, I follow you obviously. Do you have an Instagram or a Facebook?
My Instagram handle is @HeatherTheHeat.
Yeah. So again, Heather, best of luck to you. I look forward to talking to you again soon. I really look forward to seeing you in action coming up on Spike TV. So, anything else you want to add?
Thank you so much. No, just thank you so much for writing about me.
Oh, no problem at all, Heather, and best of luck to you, and maybe we'll meet up down the line.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks a lot, Heather.
Thank you, buddy.